Mark Bell's PowerCast, sponsored by thepowermagazine.com, howmuchyourbench.net, and BSN, makers of NO Explode. Look for BSN products at bodybuilding.com. Alongside Silent Mike and Jim McD, here's your host, Mark Bell.
Hello, there I am. I'm there. Fuck you, Mike, I'm here.
God damn it, I was trying to turn them off.
Fairy. You don't think that's going to work, that belt?
No. It might.
Well,
it's like
we'll
I
see.
think the belt's 2 inches, and then it has some kind of...
Internet inches? Because that means it's like half an inch then.
No,
probably.
2 inches is
like
10
that.
inches, you mean?
Let
Let me show you 2 inches, buddy.
Huh? So Kim Tran did what? Pantyless?
A pantyless 190 bench weighing 105.
How do you know
Jesus.
she didn't have panties on?
We interviewed her for about half an hour about panties.
Oh, you should have said because I was wearing them.
Oh, I wish. They were
on
on
your-
my floor. They were on my floor.
That's why
Or
you
your
just gotta
head.
be fast. Be like, she was pantless. Well, how do you know? Because I was wearing them. They were a little tight, but I liked it.
Yeah.
Ah. Wearing
I'm
backwards.
wearing
to
them
get
right
the reverse
Well, that way you just get your junk to one side and it kind of
split pea soup going on.
That's Mark's new gimmick. He wants to make a thong gimmick where you just wear a strap. Like you're a guy, and you can wear like just a thong
So
strap.
when you bend down to do a deadlift, everyone
Yeah.
sees a little
And
like
people are kinda like,
turquoise.
Small story. I played
Yeah.
with a guy named Johnny Morton.
I know
you
who
guys
he
know
is.
who J-Mo is. At the Chiefs, everybody comes in. You know, everybody wears in their street clothes, whatnot. We
I like
walk
where
in
this is
in the
going
morning,
already.
And I had a locker not far from him and Tony Gonzalez and everybody. And all of a sudden, J-Mo comes in as he starts to take his clothes off.
Sounds like a BBC story.
Wearing a man thong.
Oh my god!
And like everybody just kind of stopped and was like, "What the?" And he was like, "Oh man, you know, I'm just kidding with you guys. I wanted to see what you guys were doing." He tried to like play it off, and we're like, "No, J-Mo's a freaky motherfucker." So he was.
Hey, hold on a second though. Hold on a second. He's in good shape though, right?
Yeah, well, everybody. Well, not everybody, but
So
yeah, he
his-
was in good shape.
So his ass probably actually looked really good in it.
Oh yeah, I mean, it looked like two little apples.
Like if you just took a picture of it and put it on Instagram and like, hey, check this
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
People would be all excited.
yeah, it's not like anybody'd be like, "Oh God," it's not.
They think they're seeing a pussy from behind, but they're really seeing some balls.
It's
Wait, what?
it's not like he like split like a mound of cottage cheese with a string or anything. I mean, the guy's fucking jacked.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, he was shredded.
That's a good story to start this thing out with.
Yeah.
What a way to begin.
Oh, I got
All
stories
right,
for days.
so we're in the locker room already, so we might as well stay there.
Yeah, what else is going on in there?
How many big black cocks have you seen over the years?
Where'd that little puppy go?
Right here.
Wow, that's there's a rule in the NFL. There's actually more than a few rules, but one of the main rules is no naked man touching.
Ah,
So if there's other naked guys around, like there's an invisible force field, so there's
you
no
can't
naked man.
even do a fist pound.
No, nothing.
No.
So if you ever spot any naked man touching, like even a fist pound of two naked dudes,
Right.
like instantly people would lose their mind. And
What
then-
about eye contact?
Always eye contact.
Yeah, no, yeah, okay.
There's
Yeah,
never a non-eye contact
Yeah,
moment.
yeah.
So that's rule number 2. 1, no naked man touching. 2 is constant eye contact.
Yeah.
You never look down and go, "Oh my god, holy shit!"
It was always funny though. Like there'd always be one guy that'd always be like, "So what's happening?" And he'd always be like, "Hey, eyes."
Yeah.
Rule number 2, eyes.
Yeah. Go back to rule number 2, buddy.
Yeah. So I mean, I've seen the no naked man touching rule broken, and
Whoa.
people lose their fucking minds.
Whoa, in the shower?
Yeah.
Push-up
Hey,
contest?
how you doing? Slap on the back, and they're like, "Whoa, rule number 1!" Just fucking lose their minds. So it was.
Is that
pretty
like
good.
team to team rules or
No, it's just a universal rules.
like
So,
just like dude law?
yeah, dude law. So when in the off season, when I moved back to Southern California, I got a gym membership at like some fitness place, and you can pay extra money and get your own little private locker room. So I paid the extra $10. And I used to see guys breaking both rules constantly, like
Oh
old
my
guys
God.
over there,
Old
like,
guys.
hair drying their balls, slapping each other on the back, talking to each other, looking at each other's junk, being like, "Oh, yeah."
Air drying someone else's balls.
And I remember thinking, like, don't these guys know the rules?
Yeah,
Like,
they
there's
don't.
fucking rules.
Yeah.
I felt like Walter from Big Lebowski. Does anybody else care about the fucking rules? This is for league play.
Hey, there's different rules in different areas. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Were
Different
you in
rules.
Hollywood or you just said SoCal?
Oh, no, this was in Orange County.
All right, I didn't know. West Hollywood,
Yeah,
24-hour
I-
fitness.
Yeah, I can't imagine I would
This
want to trade
gym, we tag it as strongest gym in the West, but it's also the gayest gym in the world.
Yeah,
Not
number
many
one
people
spot.
know that.
Interesting.
Congratulations for coming in today, John
I'm
Welbourn.
stoked. I taught a seminar at a gym in New York, and what was pretty interesting is when I went in the bathroom, they had like about a 15-person sauna in
Whoa.
the bathroom, and I remember being like, Yeah, buddy.
Oh, my God.
Shit's about to go down.
I see pictures of, like, the Russian lifters. They'll post it up on, like, Instagram. They're all hanging out together naked.
Yeah.
Maybe they have different rules.
Well, there's a whole Russian thing where you get beaten by, like, hot smoking branches. Have you ever seen this?
Yeah.
So you go to these, like,
what's
Russian
that?
massage deals, and you lay down, and they get these big eucalyptus branches, and they, like, set them on fire, and then as they're going out, embering, smoking, they beat people with them.
Is that what Adrian Peterson was doing?
I don't know if
No,
that's
it was different.
exactly what he was doing, but people pay money for that. I don't think his kid was paying to get his ass
Son
whooped.
of a bitch.
You know, but I remember seeing something or hearing something about it, and people were like, "Oh yeah, like I went to this Russian massage, and they beat us with eucalyptus branches," and I was like, "Excuse me?"
They did what?
They beat you with eucalyptus? Oh yeah, and they were like trying to explain it to me. I'm like, doesn't sound like a good time, but you know what? The Russians are into some crazy shit. Have you ever seen any of those lifting videos?
Yeah.
They're all listening to this like crazy Russian techno. You know, and they're like smoking cigarettes, and then they
Pulling
go over
on
and
each
squat
other's ears before they lift.
and then they go squat 1,000 pounds.
You ever see that? They're fucking yanking on each other's ears before they do an Olympic lift.
How excited, what's the guy's
I don't know
name
what
that's
that's
going
about.
against Dan Green?
I was like, here.
Yeah, how excited were his spotters when he just hit that squat last week?
They were all celebrating.
And they're all jacked. There's a random black guy in Russia, and he's freaking out.
Yeah, like this isn't in Russia. There's no black people there.
He's just training. It was great. He
Yeah, it was so
celebrated
funny.
like he broke a world record.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I think he was just ready for that celebration.
Is that for that big showdown down in Australia?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
the GPC coming up.
Yeah, it looks legit.
Speaking of celebrations, you ever have any touchdown celebrations, John Welbourn, in any of your career?
No,
God damn.
no, never scored a
Never
touchdown.
hit fucking pay dirt, huh?
No, thank God.
Son of a bitch.
I'm glad. I told you.
you were on the front lines instead, huh?
Well, funny you should ask. So early in my NFL career, there was a fumble. Basically, the quarterback got
here we
hit,
go.
and as I was pulling, so I was playing
Who's the
left guard,
quarterback?
Donovan McNabb.
There we
So
go.
I was playing left guard. I pulled to go right, and as he went for the exchange, he went too fast, and the ball literally dropped and bounced right up in front of me. And I remember this like a movie.
Fumble-rooski!
All of a sudden, I saw as I opened, took like a big step to open because I knew the center was going to get his ass blown back because he had a shade. So when you do that, you know that the guy's going to get pushed. So if I ran too tight, I was going to get hit. So I took this big open step, and I remember really throwing my elbow, and I can remember it like probably like you and your first gay encounter with your
With Silent Mike.
with your neighbor with Mike. And so as I open, I see Donovan drop the ball, and I see this ball literally bounce up in slow motion, and I'll get into the slow motion thing in here in a second. And as I see the ball come up, I'm like, "Whoa." And I like see my hands take it, and in a split second, like those movies like in Armageddon when all of a sudden the asteroid's about to hit and his whole life flashes before his eyes, all of a sudden I imagine myself picking this ball up, running around the corner, and sprinting like 45 yards for a touchdown. Like shaking dudes, like throwing the 360s, and I'm like, all of a sudden I catch it perfectly in position. I take one step, and like 17 dudes or people off the sideline all hit me at once. Like I got blasted. They didn't even go to tackle me. They hit me, and I like flew like 5 yards this way, landed square on my butt, and like landed like right on my tailbone on my butt, and like my ass was stinging, and I was like, oh my God, I'll never do that again.
You gained 0 yards.
Yeah, I was about to say
zero.
negative 3 rushing career yards.
So then later that year, almost picture perfect moment. We're running a sweep play, similar deal. The running back ends up I end up hitting the guy on I think it was a counter tray. The running back goes off. He gets hit. The ball literally explodes out, bounces, coming right to me, almost exact moment. And instead of picking it up, I kicked the ball out of bounds.
Oh, shit.
I literally kicked it as fast and hard as I could. So you see on film that the ball's there. I kind of slowed down and I kicked it right out of bounds.
Sometimes some of the other players on the team have weird attributes. Like sometimes a lineman can chuck a ball, and sometimes some guys can kick field goals and stuff.
Yeah.
Did you have any attributes like that, or are you just mainly just ass kicker on the front lines?
I was just good with my hands. So I was never really great at
Soft
throwing
hands.
a football, even though Donovan McNabb and Trent Green and those guys did show me how to throw, so I could throw pretty well. But in terms of kicking the ball, no, I was just good at good punching people.
Kicking the ball's impossible.
Yeah, it's fucking tough.
What's the deal with that? I can't figure out how to get it off the ground.
Kickers are strange dudes. I attribute it to people that are kickers are just unique snowflakes.
Do you
and
guys
there's
beat them up?
No, you kind of leave them alone.
Yeah, because they're too crazy.
Well, no, it's not even that. You're just that's the guy. He's kind of reminds me of the dude that you know the last person in your phone that you don't want to call, but you have to get somebody to come pick you up. That's the kicker.
He's
like
that guy.
we're down by 2 points. It's the bottom of the like the last drive in the fourth quarter, and we're going to lose this game. And now we have to depend on this guy that everybody has like made fun of. No way. That's why the kicker, you just kind of leave them alone, let them do their own thing. They want to be fucking weird, let them be weird.
Yeah,
just
like,
come in.
Fuck all you guys. I'll just kick it into the stands.
Yeah, kick that fucker. And those guys are fucking like head cases.
Yeah.
Like the last thing you ever want to do is say anything to those guys. Everybody just kind of leaves them alone and just realizes they're a little weird and unique snowflakes. And you're like, dude, be a unique snowflake. Just kick that shit through the uprights.
There you go. What about each team? Probably has its or like each high school and stuff. Has its own kind of set group of guys. Like there's always like the big brawny country white boy. There's the black.
Are you talking
dude
about that like Friday Night Lights movie?
Yeah,
or?
yeah. It's just like that. It's sort of like that. In
Varsity
general.
Blues. Okay, let's
sort of like
go
that
with
in general.
stereotypes and go Varsity
Yeah,
Blues.
it's sort of like that in general.
Yeah, there's like the fat country guy that's like.
Yeah, but there's
Billy
always
Bob?
there's always like the one dude who's like just like he's just like a little bit too off. Where you're like, I don't really know about that fucking guy. You have a couple guys like that?
Oh yeah.
A couple crazy mofos.
Yeah, I played with some really, really people that were wired up real different. I mean,
you're talking about like smashing somebody, like on a certain play or something, and you're getting fired up for the game, but somebody else is like just a little too into it.
I was actually the exact opposite. I was never nervous, or I was never really one of those guys. Like
too wired.
Well, yeah, like the guy that's got to beat his chest and like punch and kick,
right.
and like the Latimer that puts his head through the glass. Those guys to me are frauds.
Right.
It's the guy that's like quietly sitting over there planning everybody's death. Is the guy I'm scared about. Case in point, for me, like I always went and listened to music, was real focused, calm, cool, collected, and just everything got real quiet. Like somebody once asked me, they're like, are you sad now that you don't hear the roar of the crowd? And I was like, I started over 100 games, and I never once heard the crowd. So when I went out there and played, everything was really ghostly, eerie, quiet. Everything kind of moved in slow motion. And it wasn't until years later that I got asked to be in a study. A guy named Dr. Jin from the Newport Brain Research Center was doing a deal on professional athletes. And there was a certain amount of the population that he felt that he could analyze their brain and tell if they had the ability to play at a high level.
Right.
And it was basically a pattern firing deal. When information travels into the optical nerve, it goes back. I think it ends up,
in your butthole.
Basically, information travels through the optical nerve. It goes to the back of the brain and then travels to the front of the brain where it makes a decision.
Right.
It's kind of the way it works, or back to the middle. I can't remember exactly what it is. But he had a theory, and it ended up being right, that certain athletes, those that he trusted, professional athletes, when information comes in the optical nerve, the whole brain lights up at once. It can make a decision, and they make a decision. These individuals make decisions. I think it's like 20 milliseconds faster than the average person.
Kind of what people call like a gamer.
Yeah.
Like you just know some kids like that guy's a gamer. You just know
he
he's
can
got
do
it. Yeah.
And the analogy is Ted Williams. Remember the best hitter, one of the best hitters ever
Right.
in baseball.
Right.
Ted Williams, incredible hitter, terrible coach. And the reason being is after he got done, he was out there and like he was coaching the guys, and he was like, "Oh my God, you didn't know that was a curveball!" And the guys like looked at him, and he's like, "That was a fastball!" And he's like screaming at these guys, "How come you didn't know this?" And they were like, "Well, how do you?" He's like, "Because I can see the rotation of the laces." And they're like, "So you can see the rotation of the laces?" He's like, "Yeah, as soon as it leaves the hand, I can see the rotation of the laces, and I know what pitch is coming." So he had the ability. So the way the brain works is, you've obviously seen like the brain scans where it kind of peaks up and down, peaks up and down. Well, your brain is like a movie. So think about like films. You go to a film, the film is on a reel, and it's a bunch of single frames and then what they do, they speed it up, and that gives the illusion of the movie, but it's just still frames.
I just have a hamster
24
in my head.
Our brains do the exact same thing. So when you see the top of that impulse, that's the body or the brain taking a picture, and then it goes down, and then it takes another picture, and then it goes down and takes another picture, and then it ties it together. Well, certain individuals that have a different pattern firing are able to slow those gaps, which gives the illusion of slowing time. And that's why you hear professional athletes and other guys.
Space-time continuum. It always comes back to that. We need a flux capacitor in this fucking place.
Well, I think you have one. I saw it in the bathroom. So that's like the deal where Dr. Jin talked about it. He's like the best hitters, pro football players, all have the deal to slow time. And for me, when I played, everything got really quiet, and everybody looked like they were moving in slow motion.
That's crazy.
So people always ask, like, how could you move your hands? How could you make that happen? I'm like, honestly, as soon as I got down to my stance, everything slowed to the point where I could notice somebody's foot, I could notice the hands, and as the ball was snapped, everybody looked like they were moving in slow motion.
Feels very normal to you because you're just so used to it.
Yeah.
Did it always feel like that?
Yeah.
Like from high school to college, all the transitions kind of felt pretty smooth?
Yeah, everything always moved slow. College football was even worse because everybody moved so slow.
Yeah.
Really?
And I actually liked the pro game because it moved faster. And then when I got done with the research deal with Dr. Jin, he's like, you are part of the 0.01% of the population that could do that. And all of the guys that he had tested he tested a bunch of pro baseball, a bunch of pro football guys. Every one of the guys that had played at a high level all had that ability. And then he tested siblings. Like he tested, a guy who played for the Angels, and his brother was in AAA, and he had it, but his brother didn't.
They tested me and told me I had the ability to be slow. Like, your brain works really fucking slow. Congratulations.
Well, no, it's like your brain works fast, but maybe your just body moves slow.
Maybe. I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
Something's off.
But just pretty fascinating stuff. I mean, and then you can kind of look at brain, and like his deal was really interesting. Basically, analyzing brain impulses and seeing like his first comment was like, "Oh, you eat a pretty good diet and you sleep well." And I'm like, "You can tell that from my brain?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll show you brains." And then the guy proceeded to show me schizophrenic brains, people with diabetes, all these different diseases, and showed me this is this, and he could tell a lot from the brain.
Yeah, I always think a lot of things can be solved through exercise and through diet. You kind of feel the same way?
Yeah.
Through, I know you're a proponent of paleo-style diet, but along with a lot of other styles of diets, because you have researched it and you've also kind of lived it. So what style of diet do you recommend? I know it's going to depend on the athlete, but
how much time we got, Mike?
Let's stick to your
3 hours.
Let's fucking roll this.
Yeah.
All
Let's
right,
mainly stick to
your.
Let's maybe stick to football. So just if anybody out there is listening to football or coaches football, just a general
probably
diet
related
for
to soccer and
a kid that
basketball
wants
as well.
to be a little heavier, gain a little bit of weight.
All right, well, geez.
Hey, now.
So let's start way back again. When I was 14 years old, I was 6 foot, 165 pounds, and I was telling you the story earlier, and I needed to weigh 200 pounds. That was the thing. I trained with this old powerlifter guy named George Zangus, who invented the super suit. Yeah, the suit and the wraps, so marathon nutrition. Zangus, when I was 14 years old, I trained in Zangus's garage.
That's awesome.
I heard great stories about him passing out like squat suits in the warm-up room, and people would just throw them on, and then he would squat 50 more pounds on a platform, but no one would bitch about it.
Yeah, he would.
Kind of great.
I remember the first time I squatted 600. I think I was like 17 years old, and I had been stuck in like
it hurt, right?
The fives.
fucking
and
suit
George
hurt
was
so bad.
like, "Hey, I'm going to wrap your knees, and I want you to wear this suit, but I don't want you to put the straps up." So he got me in this fucking thing, and I was covered in talc powder, and like your nuts are basically pinned to one side. And he wrapped my knees so tight that I'm pretty sure my patella broke that day.
Yeah,
and it was terrible. And I squatted like what would have been? It would have been 585 and 10, so it would be 605.
Right.
And squatted that 605 in that suit, and I remember getting to the bottom and like feeling the suit like pushing me forward, and I did everything I could to just like drive my chest back and somehow stand up with that thing. And I remember being like, I never want to wear that thing again, because it was like the seams were so egregious.
Yeah.
It was gnarly. But okay, moral of the story: I needed to gain 35 pounds, and George talked to my mom, and he's like, "Well, he just needs to eat more, so we're going to put him on a pancake diet." So what that meant is my mom made me pancakes as a supplement to every single meal I ate.
Write this down, Mike.
That sounds genius.
So I would wake up, it was either eggs or oatmeal or cereal and pancakes.
Mike's not a man, by the way.
He's 190 pounds. What do we say? We're not impressed by men that are under 200 pounds.
I agree.
So
you're off the team, Mike.
And then I would get a brown bag. It was like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, banana with and pancakes. And then I'd come home. My mom would be like, "Oh, I have pancakes ready." And then for dinner, it'd be like, "Oh, we're having hamburgers," because we ate hamburger. I don't know about you guys. We ate hamburger
plowing through tons and tons of food.
Every single night we ate hamburgers and rice. That was our main diet when I was growing up. And pancakes. And then my mom would be like, "Oh,
hamburgers, rice, and pancakes?
Hamburgers, rice, and pancakes."
That's fucking amazing.
So, and my mom has a deal. My mom's from Canada.
Just walking around in a diabetic coma.
So my mom's from Canada, so there's like, you can only have real maple syrup.
Right.
It's like a big deal. And my dad, who grew up in the Depression, or childhood depression, World War II, he was like obsessed, because when they were little kids they couldn't have butter because it went to the war effort. So my dad's like deal is that like the minute there was butter, like the only real butter,
loaded up on it.
Yeah, like, hey, That butter, we didn't get that during the war, so you got to put extra butter on that
Yeah,
thing. So my dad would come in and he'd be like, "Oh, you want some cheese?" I'm like, "Dad, that's butter." He's like, "No, it's like cheese. Just eat it." So moral of the story is I just ate pancakes, and so I put on that 35 pounds, and it wasn't until years later when I got tested and found out that I had gluten allergy that everything made sense why I would fall asleep every day in first period. I just sit there and I got a note being like, "John can't, you needs to get more sleep. The kid's falling asleep." And I was so confused about it. And then I finally, when I read all the gluten stuff, I was like, oh, blood sugar, diabetic coma crash every single day in first period. So I did that. I gained the weight and ended up just keep packing on weight and lifting weights and training with Zangus. And I was joking that, George was a big supplement guy, Marathon Nutrition, so we'd always get a box of a bunch of white label, "Hey, take this." And we ended up taking creatine in like 91.
Right.
And George would give me this protein powder that was so bad that you had to plug your nose or you would retch.
That's the
but
stuff
he's
right
like,
there.
He's like, put ice in it, put anything you can in, just plug your nose, and I'd slam this stuff and just fucking feel like I was going to throw up. And
son of a bitch.
I ate that diet, and then my training partner was a guy named Tasso Papadakis, who was another Greek. And he was like the strongest kid in America. He under 16, I think he squatted 500 for 10 and benched 315 for 10. Super strong dude.
Fuck.
And he was fucking jacked. And his dad played at USC and owned a restaurant, and so he taught me a lot about eating, which was like you just eat a lot of protein. And it was a kind of the mixing of the two. But then I got to college. I think I was about 275 when I got to college, and ended up getting up to 300 pounds. And our big meal for us was we would go buy a big sack of white rice at Costco, hamburger, and fuck, that was about it. That was all
There
we
you
could
go.
afford. $740 a month.
Right.
But it was Costco, so we'd eat that, and then when I got to the NFL and could finally afford to actually eat well, everything kind of stayed the same. But what was interesting was my rookie year in the NFL, I came in, I was probably rated like about 305, and I ended up getting hurt. And I right about that time was when I met Dr. De Pasquale, Mauro De Pasquale, who you guys know from the Anabolic Diet.
Yeah.
So Mauro actually hooked me up my first supplement deal, and we did a bunch of consults and talked.
Cool.
And he sent me all my supplements, and he sent me the book, The Anabolic Diet. And he's like, the best way I know to rework your body composition is I want you to do like a mass gain, and then what we're going to do is we're going to cut you down. So I started training real heavy. I was training twice a day, eating Mauro's diet. We were doing pretty low, basically keto during the week, and then it was this massive carb refeed on Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
And I ended up getting up to like 336.
Jesus.
And
How'd that feel?
Oh, so fucking strong. I remember like laying underneath 525, and I like did it for like this fast 3 reps. I mean, it was like 0.8 meters per second. It was like bam, bam, bam. I was like, holy fuck. Super, super strong. And I remember I went out to spring ball, or our first OTA, and I got in my stance, and I was like, all of a sudden they snapped the ball, and I was like setting back, and as the defensive end ran around to my fat ass, or my big immobile ass, I had this like epiphany that I was like a planet, and these little planets were orbiting me, and I like couldn't move because I was this fucking planet. And I was like,
too much gravity.
Oh, I'm too fucking big. And I remember I called, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna, if I go to training camp like this, I'm gonna get fired. I will get cut. And at that point, it was like, and we were talking about it, changed the diet up, and ended up dropping the fat back, adding more carb in, and doing more of a traditional bodybuilding diet. And I ended up coming back to training camp at like 303, at like 8% body fat.
Jesus.
So I think like my
The good old 8%.
Yeah, I was my best in the bod pod is I was like 8.6%. I had 282 pounds of lean muscle at like
Holy
306
shit.
pounds.
Jesus.
That ain't normal.
No, it was fucking. People were like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, I was still super strong. All of a sudden, I had all my strength. I didn't lose any of it.
Right.
And my speed was there. Everything was better. And I went out and started for the next bunch of years.
Yeah, all those years of crushing carbs and then switching things up probably made a big difference.
Yeah, I mean we were talking about it earlier, but it doesn't matter whether it's who it is. If you go and you take a look, and there's a lot of fucking bullshit on the internet. I know it's hard for people listening, but there's a lot of bullshit on the internet. Like if the internet was true, everybody would be a 10-year NFL veteran, black belt in jiu-jitsu, and a fucking 1,000-pound squatter. But
he knows my resume.
But basically, you guys know, and just like me, I know all the dudes that played 10 years, and you know all the guys in the world that squat 1,000 pounds,
right.
And there isn't that many of them. You could probably text them daily.
Yeah.
So, like you can all the internet bullshit you can talk about. I mean, what we've seen is that guys that do some form of ketogenic diet in terms of a form of body composition, whether it's Mauro's diet with a refeed or like what you're doing, those guys, you get pretty lean on that diet, but it's not a performance-based diet in that sense, because you need carbs. I mean, carbs are performance. Like that's the gas you need for your car. But if you do some kind of ketogenic deal, and then when you get to under a certain percentage of body fat and you're pretty lean, and you switch it over into more what we call a traditional, which would be traditional bodybuilding, which would be like a higher protein, higher carb, more moderate fat, more 7-8 meals a day, kind of like what The Rock would eat. And all of a sudden, those guys go from like 8-9%.
He's into pancakes.
Yeah. Those guys go down to like 4% and get fucking shredded. The problem is, if you try the bodybuilding diet before you're lean, you end up being a fucking fat fuck.
Yeah, because it's too many carbs.
It's too many carbs.
Body's not ready for it.
Yeah, and most people, I think a lot of the information, especially with like the higher carb, more traditional stuff, when you see people push it, goes off of things 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
I mean, I hate to say this, but we are completely useless. We don't even shop for groceries anymore. You know how many people I drive by in my neighborhood have their groceries sitting out the front door because they order it on Amazon? And that
we do
Amazon
that.
Truck?
I'm lazy.
Yeah. Like, people don't go to the grocery store. Like, they people don't even walk or do anything. I mean, at least you get up in the morning and walk, thank God.
Thank God I do something.
Yeah. I mean, but think about
That's
it.
what
I agree.
Instagram
I
says
call,
at least.
I call,
I don't follow him, but Instagram says he goes for a walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 4 in the morning.
He claims, yeah. Somehow I have a hard time believing you wake up at 4 in the morning, but
I do. It is unfortunate for me.
it's up, ready to fucking
I always
rock it.
call all the exercise that we do artificial exercise, because we got to make up shit to do because no one does anything.
Yeah, we're not hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, we do yard work. Like, I installed turf in my lawn, and people are like, why don't you just pay? You have money. Why don't you pay somebody to do it? And I'm like, because I need some fucking exercise. Like, we planted avocado trees, and I'll go out and we water and do different things. And, like, I want my kids to actually see me do things.
Right.
Because I think there's value in having your children actually have some form of, like, chores and see mom and dad. They're active. They're doing things. They just don't fucking pay everybody to do everything. And so, it's just, there's a lot of bad information out there, and unfortunately, and we say it on Power Athlete all the time whenever people ask me these like kind of detailed questions. I'm like, what is your goal? What are you trying to do? Like, the problem is that you have all these people like, I want to be really lean, but I want to have lots of performance. I want to have great endurance, but I want to be fucking super strong. And I'm like, everything you're talking about is juxtaposed. So therefore, if you train all those things at once, you're going to be mediocre in the middle.
Right.
Or it's
just going to take you a really, really fucking long time.
Yeah. Or you're going to or you genetically select for like the one guy who has a 700-pound deadlift in a 4-minute mile, and you're like, okay, we found the one, let's fucking kill him. Like when I trained in the NFL, like I knew I needed to weigh 300 plus pounds, and I knew that I had like certain kind of markers. I remember the year that I was telling you guys, I worked so hard to bench over 500 pounds, and I was trying to squat 7. The amount of time and effort that I put in to get to do that actually took away from my football. Because I spent so much time going one way, and I remember years ago reading the book that your gym is named for, Super Training by Mel Siff, and he talked about shot putters. That the most of the optimal strength level for a shot putter to throw a 18-pound shot was right around 200 kilos, and the time and the effort that the guys and the size and the inflexibility and all that it took for those guys to get to 250 didn't pay dividends because they lost velocity, bar speed slowed down, and their ability to generate force and all that other stuff.
The law of specificity gets lost a lot in weightlifting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you
for
can
me,
almost kind of check those things off the list when you get to a certain strength level.
Yeah.
And not like you're not still going to work on it because you don't want to lose that capacity, but
Diminishing
you can
returns.
start to work on some other shit.
Yeah.
Are you going to throw it that much farther if you squat 725?
Well, so for me, my marks were I had to bench somewhere north of like 450. It was actually like 495. If I could bang 495 for single, I was good. If I squatted like right around 585, 600, and if I could, I know you guys are going to sound this crazy, but I didn't pull a deadlift off the ground during college or my professional. I only did RDLs, so my deal was 585 for 8 to 10 reps.
Shit.
So if I got RDLs, almost 600 pounds for reps, then I was good. And if I squatted 585 and I benched 495, and then my other one was like 10 plus pull-ups with 90 pounds between my waist. So if I could do that, and my body fat was somewhere in that 10 to 12, I was pretty good.
Well, some of the heavy lifting sometimes can actually make you really slow, and I don't mean make you slow like when you go into a sprint or something like that, but it just makes you move fucking sluggish for the next several days. So doing something like an RDL for several repetitions makes sense because it's a low percentage of what you can actually deadlift.
Well,
whereas if you did a heavy single, you're going to be kind of limping around and jacked up for 3 or 4 days.
Well, nothing is as taxing as the deadlift. I mean, there's a reason that only Olympic lifters can squat every single day. I mean, we did a deal where I think I squatted between like 550 and 650 for singles for 18 days in a row.
Jeez.
And I pulled
brutal,
like one heavy deadlift, and I was fucked for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I remember Dave Tate telling me, he's like, the deadlift is the hardest to recover from.
Takes 2 weeks.
Yeah. And he said for an advanced lifter that's pulling more than 4 reps over 90%, he thought 21 days to get them to recover.
Right.
And it's true. So, I mean, for me, strapped up RDLs was a much better deal. Pulling from the ground just fucking torched me. I think that goes back to the Zanga stuff. George said that the way you treat the deadlift is like a pretty girl. You ignore her.
There you go.
Yeah, he's like that was his deal. He's like you train the deadlift, you train everything with like all your other movements, all your heavy pulling, but you don't deadlift. The worst thing to do for your deadlift is deadlift. You ignore it like a pretty girl.
I think even just like for an athlete in general, you want box squats in there. You want some form of a different type of deadlift rather than a regular deadlift from the floor. And for bench pressing, you want to try floor pressing,
close grips,
board pressing, close gripping,
close grips,
slingshotting, all those different things to avoid doing an actual bench press because the risk to reward ratio is not that great. And again, it's going to kind of leave you just sort of feeling like shit and feeling like you're in a little bit of a daze.
So you
agree with that?
Yeah, the only grip I'll ever do on the bench is the close grip, and the reason being, if you were to look at somebody's chest. So when you play in the NFL,
right. Let's look at my chest.
We always talked about.
I'm glad you brought this up because I've been doing a lot of pec decking lately.
Look amazing.
Thank you.
I mean, some cleavage. Imagine a steering wheel. So we just rolled up in Mark's big pimpin' slingshot ride, and I was eyeballing his steering wheel, and his steering wheel is about the size of your chest. So in the NFL as offensive lineman, when I sit back and I punch, your hands need to be somewhere at that 3 to 9, and you punch and you grab what they would call a steering wheel. So for me, when I bench press, I go about half a thumb to 1 full thumb off of the smooth, which is exactly what a steering wheel or somebody's chest. So for me, I had to be strong this way, and so I just always close gripped everything because it was specific to what I need. Now when I get out wider, now all of a sudden that trains a different plane of motion.
Right.
And we used to watch guys that did a lot of wide bench press, so what did they do?
Right.
Punch their hands wide. And I remember when guys would miss with their hands, it'd be like, how many fucking reps of bench press have you done that has basically built that pathway, and that's like, nobody ever rises to the occasion. Everybody falls to the level of their training. And if you go in and you give me 5 sets of 10 on bench press, that's 50 reps of you training that range of motion and that plane of motion. Now all of a sudden you go out on the field, you set, what are you going to do? You're going to go back. So I never trained anything other than a close grip. I really like the floor press. The one thing, though, with the box squat, I think the box squat worked well as long as I was able to do something that actually loaded and had some stretch shortening cycle. So as long as I was doing both of those, I think the guys that just exclusively did box squat, I don't necessarily know if they, I like to mix them both up. Even though the box squat was great, especially with the big pause, that ability to kind of pull and really drive, what I thought was great, especially like to simulate in the stance. But in terms of being able to catch a stretch shortening cycle, I think it's good. The other one is... we always when we did box squats, always below parallel.
Right.
And I always love the guys that are like, oh yeah, I just did a 700-pound 4-inch above parallel box squat.
Yeah, you're like, what's that about?
Yeah.
With with the regular squat, you incorporated some of those as well.
Oh yeah, always free squatted.
Okay.
George was a firm believer that a free squatter will always be stronger than a box squatter.
Right.
Even though Louie's had one of Louie's
the box, you're sitting
first
on it,
reverse hypers.
You're resting on it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and it was probably maybe a little rivalry with Louie, and George knew all the original Westside guys and trained with those guys and knew them, and they did a lot of boxes. But I remember George being like, there were certain things, like I remember when George found out that I had a monolift, he called me in a fit of fucking rage.
What are you doing?
Yeah, real men walk out their squats, and I'm like, well, we use this as an adjustable, so multiple people, you and I can squat on the same rack, and he's like, good. And he was so fucking mad about the mono. It was like I had just slapped the old man's mom in front of him.
That's great.
He was pissed, and yeah, he was fired up. I mean, there were certain things like you got a free squat, and I remember asking him about those things, and he's like, it's not a squat, it's just a hip bend, is what he used to call it. And I was like, you know what? You got to be able to do everything. I mean, what I always liked is I always liked the vertical shin and the fact that you could sit super far back and develop the posterior chain. So it had a use because there's no way for you to ever sit back unless you're in gear or Stan Efferding.
Yeah.
Who is able to sit back farther than any human I've ever been able to see. It's almost like he has 10 layers of gear, and he's raw. I'm like, what the fuck?
Wait, he walks around all beat up, and then he starts to squat, and he gets his hips so open and his knees so. You're like, oh, what the hell? You just transformed under the bar.
Yeah, that guy's a beast. It's probably getting banged missionary. That'll really open you up. That's what Mark was telling me.
Why have we been doing doggy?
No, it helps.
That's how hard Mark gets relaxed. He just got to get banged missionary.
It's coaching.
Face to face.
I got to coach these guys. Someone's got to coach these guys.
Like a Spartan.
Got to lead by example.
They did that in Sparta.
See?
Well,
Just humped your little apprentice.
Well, no, they weren't really apprentices. That's when they agogis, so the boys would get paired up.
Hey, now.
Actually, if you read the Phaedrus...
I probably cliff noted it.
Plato talks about the only true love exists between an older man and a young boy.
Yeah.
So I was a classics major at Berkeley, and I remember reading the Phaedrus and being like, "Excuse me."
Yeah.
So wait a minute, true love only exists between a man and his younger boy. That kind of young,
two wieners,
sounds
almost like Mark and
Mike. We talked about this before.
Taking you under the wing, just
under
showing
the scrotum.
We're changing the name of this podcast to Sword Fight.
Physical contact. Good thing we're not naked.
Yet.
Yeah, it'll get
Hit the
there.
showers, boys.
Things are about to get
So
weird.
all these lifts that you did, you squatted around 800 pounds raw. I think you mentioned to me. Benched 525 for reps and pulled over 700. Were you wearing underwear during this?
No.
Wow.
Well, I was training with a Greek guy.
God damn, that's hot.
Zangus Greeks. I mean,
We got to ask that question every time.
To
People are
everybody.
wearing panties.
Yeah, going Greek.
She said our last guest,
Did
Kim.
your shorts just like spontaneously combust?
Well,
Perhaps.
I don't want to blush or anything.
Yeah, she said no panties with any Lululemon.
Well, I'm
We were
pretty sure you
confused.
guys have been to some CrossFit gyms.
But then she said Nike, too.
I don't think
Oh, yeah.
girls wear underwear. I've never seen a girl wear
They
underwear
don't?
at a CrossFit gym.
Yeah, why is that?
Because they're wearing their underwear when they train.
The underwear's on the outside?
Yeah, that would be called underwear.
Yeah.
We got to get them to start wearing their underwear over top.
Why can't they just work out in a thong?
Wait a minute. Isn't that what Jesse does on his Tuesdays
He
with
does,
the
yeah.
wacky outfit
Testicle Tuesday, yeah.
Testicle
Strange
Tuesday?
outfit Tuesday or whatever he does. It's
Terrible
amazing.
outfit Tuesday.
I remember I mentioned it to him and I misquoted it and he snapped at me. He's like, "It's terrible outfit Tuesday. Get it fucking right." I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesse, it's the most angry I've ever seen you be. You're usually so funny.
Jesus Christ. Eating trend for breakfast will do that to you. Instead of the Wheaties,
Yeah, well, that's when you get that nice ruddy color in your skin and look
Little
like a cherry.
Purpley.
Yeah, well, as Louie Simmons says, purple is equal to strong.
I remember being at Westside, and they said, why bother to have a tan when you can have high blood pressure?
I remember when I went out to Westside, I brought one of our young lifters, a lot like Silent Mike, a kid named Nate, and Nate rolled over to me and he's like, "That guy turned purple at the bottom of the squat, and 10 minutes later he's still purple." And he looked at me, and Louie looked over and started opened his eyes and was like, "Yeah, purple's equal to strong. That's how we know. If you don't turn purple, you gotta eat some more orals."
How much did Louie tell you needed to weigh? Did he give you?
Yeah, he told me that
450 pounds.
Yeah, he told me that my waist. He goes, "Your waist is too narrow. What's your waist?" I'm like, 38. He's like, "Oh, you'll never squat 1,000 pounds. I think it needs to at least be a 50." And I was like, "A 50?" And he's like, "Yeah, you got to have
That's
the
a pretty
power
big
belt."
ass.
I was like a 50-inch waist. That means I got to gain 12 inches on my waist. I'm like, what would that be? He's like, probably right around 375.
Holy shit.
I was like, you should have seen me at 335. I mean, if I got a picture, it was fucking, yeah. I looked like a little Beetlejuice. My head was so small.
Not so handsome.
It was not good. I remember talking to
I'm
Morrow.
2 feet shorter than you, and I got to that weight.
Oh, yeah, I saw
I remember
one of
talking
those
to Morrow and being
pictures
like, "Morrow, I'm really big," and I'm like, "This isn't good." He's like, "Don't worry, just trust me." And I was like, "All right," and sure enough, it worked.
Well, he's pretty fucking sharp.
Yeah, he's sharp, dude.
He kind of disappeared. What's he doing? Any idea?
Yeah, we've been trying to get him on our podcast, and he keeps he's doing I don't know what the fuck he's doing. So we were trying to get him on the Power Athlete Radio podcast, and I don't know. I mean, he hasn't really put any new information out. If you go to his website, he's still got all of his supplements and whatnot, but he just kind of faded out. And he was really the first guy that I remember that did a secular diet, where he was cycling, keto and carbs, and that was really my first environment to it.
I think Dan Duchesne might have beat him to the punch on that with Body Opus was a few years earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever read that, but that's
I want to say 96,
fucking
97,
amazing.
something like that.
The book's amazing. He talks about DNP and growth hormone and insulin and all kinds of shit.
Yeah, I remember it.
God rest his soul. Smart son of a bitch.
What's that DNP where it's like, you'll lose 70 pounds of fat in one day. You might die, but you'll be shredded. If you survive, you'll be the winner. I remember seeing that.
That'd be a great advertisement. That sounded like a commercial right there. That was awesome.
You might die, but you'll be shredded. Sign up here. Pay Mark Bell, $99.99.
Leave a good-looking corpse.
People be excited about that. What's the deal with Power Athlete?
Okay, so Power Athlete is my company. You can find us at powerathletehq.com. And Power Athlete is really the company that CrossFit contracts to teach a CrossFit football seminar, for example. So I teach a CrossFit football seminar, which is pretty much my training, CrossFit inspired, translated, very simple, and it's a free website. And then Power Athlete HQ is really my company and the information resource for CrossFit football and what we do. We have a paid back end, which we offer different programs in athletic training and kind of similar, and I do all the programming.
Are you guys mainly helping coaches or athletes, or is it both?
Both. So we have high schools. Right now we're working with Newport Harbor basketball, and so we go in and we've done that with several high schools, and we have Cord Arthur, who's one of our coaches down in Texas, that has his whole high school team.
That's got to be pretty cool, because a lot of the schools end up being fairly lost. They're trying to.
They're all stuck in the bigger, faster, stronger.
Yeah, and they're trying their best. The football coach, he knows the X's and O's, or at least thinks he does.
Or he lifted weights 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's so we actually went
the lifting's
to
the afterthought.
like
the conditioning's kind of like, hey, let's just sprint all day. They crush you.
Yeah.
No recovery plan.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. I mean, we've gone in and worked with some coaches, and they put our program in, and we've just phenomenal results. We're just using some good methodology, like progression, doing a little bit today more than you did yesterday, and progressing the lifts and compound movements, and just enough accessory work, but not so much accessory work, because for a young athlete, they don't need that much. It's almost like too much fucks them. So just figuring out that perfect dose for that young athlete, and then as they mature,
how long do they need to work out for, lifting wise, maybe 40 minutes, right? I mean, do a barbell movement, do two other movements, and fucking get out.
Yeah, because the temptation is to run them like hell, because you think they should be able to recover. But
the problem is that coaches have this misconception that you somehow need to be in shape to play football in January and February.
Yeah, okay.
And
no periodization going on.
Yeah, the only way you get in shape for playing football is by playing football.
Yeah.
I know this is fucking crazy. But I never went into training camp ready to play football. Now I might have gotten in great shape to be able to smoke our conditioning test, but we'd still go out there first day of pads and be like, and then we go out to the first game, a preseason game, and you're like, I fucking ran the whole off season. I fucking smoked the conditioning test, and I'm out of shape. In the first game, you go in there and you're
just not the same thing.
And then all of a sudden, by the 6th or 7th game, you're like, okay. And one year we had a bye late in the season, week 10. And the coaches decided they were going to redo the conditioning test. And half of the team failed. And you're like, so wait a minute, everybody's in shape to play football by playing football, but only half the team can pass the conditioning test. You're like, how valuable is the conditioning test?
Right.
It's more
Makes
it's checked. You walk in, okay, he trained, he did what he needed to. Now let's get these fuckers in shape.
It's not a good test retest. It's just a good.
Yeah, it's just like the benchmark. It's like going to the NFL Combine. It's not really anything more than just we know, okay, check, you are who we thought you to be. Mm-hmm. That's all it is.
Sort of a test of, did you sit on your ass the entire offseason
exactly.
and eat bonbons?
I think not enough people talk about that. A lot of coaches or trainers try to make you a better soccer player in the gym, or try to make you a better volleyball player in the gym. Well, why not get better at volleyball, playing volleyball, and kind of work motor patterns and a little bit of strength in the gym?
So the other massive conception is that there's this idea of SPP in the gym, which blows my mind. I'm like, everything we do in here is general specific, so GPP, or general physical general preparedness, GPP. Yeah. So everything we do in here, now we can take these movements, mix general movements with specific time domains, and make GSP, which is general specific preparation. But there's no way for me to do SPP in here. You do that out
unless we got a volleyball net and a ball and we're playing volleyball.
We're doing volleyball. So the other problem too is everybody believes that you have to train a basketball player different than you're going to train a football player, and that you're going to train this football player different than you train these people. And what I do is I train athletes. And I believe that if I train you to be athletic, you can take that and apply that anywhere you need to do in your own sport preparation. Now, I'm not looking to be a basketball or volleyball coach, but I can train an athlete through just basic planes of motion. So if you were to basically cut my body into different pieces, our body can only really move through 7 planes of motion.
Oh my God, I found a peanut butter cup in his heart.
How about that donut I sent you?
Delicious.
Did you see that donut? Someone melted a Reese's Pieces inside of a donut. Some donut shop around
genius.
Here. Oh my God.
Holy shit. People are smart out there. Fuck. How do we compete?
What the fuck was I saying?
It doesn't
7
matter.
planes.
So 7 planes of motion. So if I were to divide my lower body into an X, Y, and Z axis, there's really only 3 things my lower body can do. I can bilateral hip hinge, which would be a squat.
Like a deadlift or something?
Or a squat or a deadlift.
Yep.
Yeah, some form of bilateral hip hinge. I can, let me think, if I were to drive a spike down the top of me and I were to rotate on that axis, which would be my Z-axis, I would be lunging or stepping.
Gotcha.
And then if I were to drive one through my pelvis, like a Z-axis.
Whoa. Where are we going now?
Yeah.
Oh, we're just using a little bit of geometry to describe the body. I can basically step up. So the real only three things my lower body can do is squat, lunge, and step up. That's it. And if you were to break down every sport, it's actually a combination of those three movement patterns of the lower body strung together seamlessly that allows people to move in space and do, you watch a guy, whether it's a linebacker, let's say he like stands up and he starts here, right, in a bilateral hip hinge, pushing his hip. He takes a step. He hurdles somebody, and you start watching about, everything with sport, whether it be football, doesn't matter what it is a seamless transition of those three different movement planes. So what we do is when we go in, we train those three movement patterns. We teach people how to squat. We teach them or a bilateral hip hinge, whether it's a deadlift. You teach them to lunge, and you teach them to step. And if they can't do one, then they're deficient. Then they're not going to be able to seamlessly transition. And then after you train those different movements, you make sure they're strong on those planes of movement. Then you force them to go out and do something athletic to demonstrate that they've mastered it.
Right.
And it's very simple. I mean,
so you're basically just having them do, sort of, just to break it down even simpler, I guess, you're basically having them do some power movements, traditional power movements, however you want to define those. And then on top of that, you're just having them get some extra movement. They're not just moving straight up and down with a barbell every time. They might do a lunge. They might do a step up. Might do a box jump. Just different things to get their bodies moving in different planes, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, that's it. And then for the upper body, there's really only four things we can do. We can vertical push. We can vertical pull. You can horizontal push, and you can horizontal pull. You can do other things out here on the periphery, but they're
I didn't
just
know about all
combinations.
this. I just thought you bench pressed.
Yeah, I mean, so it's so like
how much you bench?
If you shameless plug, if so you figure the body can do 7 things, and I have to be strong in all of these planes of motion. So if I got a great bench, but I can't, but I never train a horizontal pull, I never train opposing. If I do a ton of pull-ups, but I never vertical press, then I'm deficient. And
by the way, ladies and gentlemen that are listening, John Welbourn keeps repeatedly flexing his biceps. He's just posing. I don't know what's going on over here, but
Mark actually threw on a sweatshirt. I was hoping he'd just sit up here and fucking gun show me the whole day.
Tank top.
Wait till tomorrow. Halfway through the workout session, he ends up naked, and he's not even putting on powerlifting gear anymore. He's just naked for no reason.
It's hot.
I'll be
HAUTE
working out with my underwear over top of my shorts tomorrow.
Nice. Iron Mike's wearing them as like a Bane mask.
Yeah, well, he's done that before.
That's hot.
For you. Part of being an assistant.
Yeah, that's hot.
A little bit of that going on sometimes too. Every once in a while.
Yeah,
Spartans. We're Spartans.
Dude, like the problem is that either people forget about this stuff or they don't go out and watch athletes or they've never played something athletic. So and the biggest issue we see is people get stuck in this idea of, this is what I know, this is all I do, and this is all that works. And
There's too much porn on the internet to follow any sort of fucking programming and to get to the gym on time. And
well,
stuff.
the only reason that porn is so valuable is it's such a ready market that it actually drives every single advance.
Yeah.
Like where do you think YouTube and all these things came from?
I know.
RedTube, Pornhub, all that stuff. Those guys are at the forefront of streaming.
It's like
video.
NASCAR and shit.
Like I remember we were trying to figure
all
out
the safety features in your regular car came from fucking driving cars real fast.
Well, we were trying to figure out how to stream video, and I remember CrossFit hired.
You got to look at that little circle while you're trying to fucking whack off, and they knew this fucking shit ain't gonna work. We got to figure this fucking thing out.
Dude, CrossFit hired a guy that worked for Kink.com.
Yeah.
Right? To teach him how to stream video.
I spent too many years of my life whacking off, is what I've discovered.
Didn't Kelly Starrett's website is based off of porn technology?
Probably gay porn. He's in San Francisco.
He is flexible.
You know what? Kelly's got so much information, and my only comment on his is his user experience could be a little bit better, like maybe more like flashing up like semi-naked pictures of Mark Bell or Jesse or him.
Yeah, something like
but
that.
When I really go and we really are really hyper focused on internet user experience. And when I go to anything that's like a paid back end or anything that kind of pulls you into an ecosystem, the biggest thing I look for is user experience. Like,
how does he know these big words? Didn't you get pounded in the head for years?
Berkeley education. That's a couple degrees from Berkeley. Reading.
You actually went to class and stuff?
Yeah, I loved it.
Jesus.
I would go back to college. If you said, "Hey, John, I'll give you a scholarship," or even if you would let me go
love
back,
scholarships around here. We talk about them all the time. We need a caffeine scholarship.
I would go back to Berkeley. If you said, "Hey, John, I think the worst thing that ever happens to kids is that they're forced to go to college right after high school." Because you're there, your whole life's in front of you, you're a moron, you just want to run around and get drunk and be an idiot. Like, they should make you go to college in your 30s. Like, if I could go back to college right now, I would be that annoying asshole that'd be like, "But Professor, what about this? What about this? What about this?
Hey, what about this?
Let me talk after." I actually, one of my professors in college was a guy named Stephen G. Miller, and he taught an ancient athletics class, which I thought was pretty fascinating. But he's the foremost expert on athletics and the Olympics and Greek and Roman athletics in the world, and actually excavates one of the original sites for the Olympic Games, which is at Nemea. And I just emailed him the other day, and he'll constantly send me stuff. So we've been in contact, and there's 15 years later, I still email one of my professors. And the guy, it always blew me away to hear how advanced and how focused the Greeks and a lot of these warrior cultures were on sport, athletics, building the body, that you couldn't build the mind without the body. And it's like the old
rest and recovery for a warrior is going to fucking work.
Yeah. I mean, if you go back and look at the Plato stuff, what do you say? The worst sin you can ever commit is not seeing your body utilized in athletics.
When you go to museums where they have a lot of statuary from the ancient world, I mean, they're jacked people. It's like, okay, were there steroids? No.
Well,
no. People were jacked.
Were they jacked, or was that the artist's interpretation of what they thought was perfection?
Yeah, I think that's true, but you have to come up with the idea somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what jacked people look like.
Well, yeah, they do. And what even makes me realize that they're probably related to Mark is that he really have small penises.
That's true.
I know. You always see him. You're always like, how is their junk so small?
That's just a jealous artist.
To Mark Bell?
That's a jealous artist.
Well, they competed naked. But here was a big deal.
Isn't that like doesn't gymnasium or something mean naked or something like that?
The other one, though, is if you sported wood, they killed you.
Oh, wow.
So
Mike, you're off the team again. That's twice in one podcast.
You had to be naked,
breaking world records,
but you couldn't pop wood. So if all of a sudden they saw a little head poke,
Robot would be fucking history.
Deadlifting with a boner.
Mr. Robot Pants. We got a guy in here named Mr. Robot Pants.
It's his official name.
Does he just take like Viagra? He's like, oh, it's crazy.
No, but he had
blood capillary density.
He had to wrap that little Asian girl's knees the other day, and he was a little excited about it. I was like,
couldn't get up right away. Let's just say,
you got a free testosterone count of 4,000. Shit's gonna get weird.
Shit's gonna get real. You guys smell that?
Smell that? There's a woman not too far from here. And you're fucking running through the woods.
She's somewhere.
Yeah.
Sniffing all the leaves. Those eucalyptus branch beatings.
Yeah, you're in there.
Those are the best.
You're in there kicking indoors in the ladies' locker room, looking to sniff panties. I mean,
give us panty sniffing. How do we always get on this topic?
Panties.
Give us
mantees.
Give us a rundown of some injuries, some bodily harm that you had over the years, college, high school, pro.
Wow. When I was pretty young, I tore a lot of ligaments in my ankle, so I had a cast when I was thinking junior in high school, and then got to the NFL.
Shit, that early, huh?
Yeah.
That was just from football?
Yeah, I think it was...
playing some backyard football.
Yeah, I sprained my ankle playing basketball, and the problem is once you
I knew it was some backyard bullshit. I knew it wasn't like
always that.
Fucking dumbass. You can't play basketball.
Oh, I had hoop. I
Dude,
thought I was a pretty decent hoop player.
on.
I was pretty good.
Well, your ankle tells us otherwise.
So I rolled my ankle and had a couple ankle injuries, but that wasn't really necessarily a big deal. And then when I got to college, for some reason, I developed really bad knee tendonitis early in college, and I think it was from the wraps. I think I started wrapping my knees way too tight.
Yeah.
And it started grinding that patella in.
They can move that shit around.
Yeah.
We've seen that happen.
And I got some real bad tendonitis, and I ended up tearing an ACL. So I was running in the field, and I had some really bad tendonitis. Anybody that's ever had tendonitis knows that sometimes your knee buckles when it gets real bad. So I was pulling around, and I planted, and my knee buckled and gave out like from the tendonitis, and I slipped and tore my ACL in the open field. So I went into surgery. They replaced my ACL, and then when I came back, I think they pushed my recovery a little too fast.
How far along where were you in your career?
I was in my third year. I was a sophomore, so I had started every game.
Oh, you're still in college. Okay.
Yeah, I was still in college. Tore my ACL. Came back, had some really bad tendonitis because I think they pushed the training or my recovery too fast. It was this idea that, oh, yeah, you're a pussy unless you come back in 3 months. So I started running too soon, and I developed tendonitis in both knees. And it wasn't until my junior year when we got a new strength coach that he's like, hey, let me show you how you fix your tendonitis. And it was actually, I started wearing Ollie shoes, and I started Olympic lifting and front squatting, and actually getting my knee even to actually over and getting a lot of what we call positive shin angle. Ended up developing more quad strength and ended up strengthening my patellar tendons, and all my tendonitis just disappeared the minute I started squatting in Ollie shoes and front squatting. So I only front squatted for a whole year and ended up front squatting 235 kilos, which was a little over 500 pounds. And I was a much better player, and I went back to back squatting, and I've always mixed it up, so that was a big deal. And then I think that tendonitis still had I know it still had a lot of issues. I went in as a rookie, got drafted.
There's not much they can do for tendonitis, right?
No, you just have to let it heal. But I never really had a chance to let it heal. So I go train for the combine, everything's fine. I go in, and during training camp, I tear a piece of my patellar tendon. I tore about a fifth of my patellar tendon, just like a little thing popped off. And I remember them being like, well, it tore, but that we wouldn't do surgery, so you can just let it heal or you can play. And like an idiot, I was like, fuck it, let's go. So I played, and my first career start, I was playing on Veterans Stadium, which anybody listening knows that Veterans Stadium, the old one, had turf that looked a lot like this table, except it was green. It was this hard. And I remember I'm starting to right tackle, end of the first half. I set back, and the guy goes to bull rush me. I plant my left foot in the ground, and it kind of was uneven because there was a seam. I planted my foot in the seam, and as I went to punch, I thought somebody shot me from the fourth row. Like I was like, somebody shot me, screaming and yelling. And I don't know what's wrong.
Man down.
Man down. I'm
Pimp
screaming.
down.
I'm literally screaming. Anybody that got to see who's a receiver from the New York Giants that just tore his knee up pretty bad.
Yeah.
Cruz?
Yeah. So Cruz had the same deal. I watched it happen on TV, and I was like, oh, he ruptured his patellar tendon. That was me. I was fucking screaming and crying, and they carted me off, and I remember they cut my pants off me, and I looked, and my patellar tendon was sitting where my VMO was, because when it ruptured this way, it moved this way, and those guys can see the scar on my knee. And they took me in, stitched it up that night, and started rehabbing the next day, and it was actually I didn't get out of bed for 3 weeks, and they didn't let me bend my leg for 3 months.
Whoa.
And then that's when I started training, and that's when I was when I got in touch with Morrow, and he's like, he's got to try to put on as much muscle and size as we can, and that's when I bulked up and then cut back down, and ended up coming back that next year and starting 16 games and being fine. And so that was my patellar tendon, and obviously broken fingers. You guys can see
that's
broken fingers.
Fairly normal, right? I mean,
yeah,
and the knees too, I would imagine, right?
This one was hilarious. I punched a guy, and my finger got caught in his jersey, and he moved away. And actually, this knuckle or this finger was going like a right turn, and I remember looking down like this and seeing it go this way, and I remember thinking, fuck, and I put it here in my shoulder pads, I yanked it down, cracked it back in, and was like, shaking it, and then the very next play I was still shaking it, did this, and I was like one hand punching the guy, and then they taped it up. Same one happened, that one dislocated. And then
that's from sticking it in your butt, though, probably.
Yeah, well,
let's be honest.
That's what we call the shocker.
Yeah.
But most of the guys you see, their fingers are stuck like this.
Yeah.
So what I do all the time is I'm constantly stretching it to try to, because I never wanted to have those like Chuck Bednarik fucked up fingers.
Yeah.
And then I tore cartilage in my right shoulder when I was in college, and then I've had 5 scopes on my right knee. So after I tore my ACL, I started having some issues.
Just a bunch of shit built up, and I need to clean it up.
Cleanups. So I've had 5 scopes in ACL. 8 surgeries. And I took a helmet to the shin, season opener.
Who is that son of a bitch? Let's call him out.
Our left tackle, that fat fuck named Trey Thomas, loafed on a play. If Trey's listening, I fucking punch you when I see you. So I'm still bitter all these years later.
He's not that big.
He was at the time. But Trey got off late. It was super loud down in Tampa. Or no, I'm sorry, we were playing in Nashville.
Is he still playing, Trey Thomas?
No, he's retired.
Big boy.
We were, massive dude. Trey was playing left tackle, I was playing left guard. We're down in Tennessee. Ball gets snapped. He's laid off the ball, and we were basically running a spread deal, and we were running an inside zone. So I stabbed the 3 technique, and I rode him up to the backer. And Trey should have been right behind me to overtake the block. Wasn't there. As I go hit the backer, I square him up, and I'm driving him downfield. The 3 technique tackles our running back into my shin, and Deuce Staley breaks my leg. Fuck. So I shattered my fibula. They casted me 5 days. They cut the cast off, and played 3 weeks later, and I played 17 weeks with a broken leg. which was moving when I was playing. And I remember them telling me, being like, I can't run because I feel my leg moving. And they're like, how we just don't run to your side? I'm like, okay, what do you want me to do? They're like, how about you just pass pro? You're good. I'm like, but they're like, yeah. I mean, so the sad part is I was better with a broken leg than my backup, who was healthy.
Even though that wasn't really that long ago, that probably wouldn't happen today, right?
Yeah, it would. No, I played in a different. The NFL had when I came in the league in '99. It's a different game, and then right around 2008, 2009, the last 4 or 5 years, the game has really, really changed.
How do you feel about some of those changes? You know, I hear a lot of people complaining about it, how there's so many flags and there's so much scoring and so on, but the fans aren't suing the NFL. Former players are suing the NFL.
Well, the reason that the players are suing the NFL, so when I came in the NFL, they told you knew you would get a concussion when you'd be knocked unconscious.
Right.
So they knew in '99 that was wrong. They went back and did all the testing with the helmets. They had all that information. The big study that was done in 2002, and they buried it. And it wasn't until people started committing suicide and the CTEs and a lot of these problems,
the mental health issues coming from the brain trauma.
When you have friends committing suicide, I mean, Junior Seau was not only a friend of mine, but also my welcome to the NFL moment on a few occasions. And
bad mofo.
Yeah. Fucking one of the best, and one of the best humans you'll ever meet. And so when you have guys that are fucked up, like all of a sudden they realize that this became a huge problem, that whole league of denials and a lot of stuff. So then they came out, and so when I went to do Dr. Amen is a guy in actually Newport Beach that did the big study on brains with all the ex-NFL players. So I got contacted to be in that. I go in there for my interview, and they're like, how many concussions have you had? And I was like, well, I've never been knocked unconscious. And he's like, well, let me redefine what a concussion is based on the 2008-2009 NFL deal. Have you ever been taken a hit to the head where you feel disoriented? Your eyes went cross-eyed. You heard a ringing, or you felt disoriented in any way other than your normal. How many concussions have you had? And I was like, 50,000?
Yeah.
And so, like... Okay, every single play. So I played 70 plays a game. We probably had 300, 400 plays in practice, and I started tallying it over 10 years, you know, this whole deal. And you're like, yeah, I've probably had 70 to 100,000 concussions then. And he's like, yeah, that's pretty standard. And so, and why is it certain guys have more problems than others? Is it genetic? Is it environmental? Is it diet? I personally believe it's diet-related. I honestly really believe the gluten allergy. There's a doctor, Perlmutter, that wrote a book called Grain Brain.
Right,
and,
I've heard that.
I really, honestly, firmly believe the best thing that ever happened to me was every time I would eat some form of gluten-based stuff, whether it be pizza or anything, I would get sick. And I knew it made me sluggish and tired, and I'd fall asleep like we talked about. So, and then also going on that,
Pizza's so good, though. What do we do?
It's delicious. But if you go back and you read Morrow's, metabolic diet, it's a paleo ketogenic diet. I want you to eat fat. I want you to eat meat. So I always ate a ton of fat and would cycle the carbs in, and then I ended up skinning Morrow's diet to being what we call our power athlete diet, which is really what I've done, which is this idea that off days we don't eat carbs. You don't train, you don't earn your carbs. If you're training your butt off and you're working 7 days a week, then you get more carb. If you're training 7 times a day, you get more carb. If your workout looks like I walk to and from the gym and I get on the bench press.
Earn your carbs, bitches.
That's our secret. So I think personally that eating, a healthy fat diet created a healthy androgen profile. You need saturated fat to build testosterone and all these other key factors. I think that really was the difference between, a lot of these guys that, maybe other...
So you said they ran tests on you. What did they find?
The Amen Clinic found out that actually the left upper portion of my frontal lobe was damaged. Shit. So it was the part of my brain...
When you got the test results back and stuff, I mean... did any of that surprise you?
Well, just like everything, there's good and bad. So the doctor brings me in and he sits me down. I'm in this room and he's showing me my brain. And he's like, this part of your left, the left frontal lobe is damaged from all the impacts. And he goes, how long did and the doctor's like, based on this damage, I would guess you played 7 to 10 years. I was like, yeah, that's how long I played. And he goes, yeah, you were a starter. I'm like, yeah. He's like, you played predominantly on the left side. I'm like, yeah, played for a long time on the left side. And he goes, let's look at some of your other tests and we'll come back. And he's like, we tested cognitive, we did all this. And he's like, actually, your IQ and your cognitive tests that we did, there was a reading comprehension, word, all this other kind of SAT stuff, was the highest we'd ever tested. And I was like, oh. And he's like, and then we got to your brain, and on the scans, the part of your brain was damaged. And I was like, oh. And he's like, based on that, though, this part of your brain is the one that deals with sympathy and empathy.
Right.
And so he's like, it just means that you don't have great sympathy and empathy. And I was like, all right, so what you're telling me is that I have a medical condition that makes me an insensitive bastard. But the cognitive ability and the intelligence was off the charts. He's like, yeah. I'm like, awesome. I'm going to need a doctor's note because my mom and wife are never going to believe that I'm an insensitive asshole. So I left there and I was like, you know what? I might not have as much sympathy and empathy as the next person, like you guys who are just, onions of emotion, that I might not be as deep. But the mere fact that I really believe that you can heal yourself. And actually, the first thing I did is I called up a good friend.
Feel like you learned those lessons from all the other injuries that you had? You hurt your ankle when you were a kid, and your knee.
I firmly believe you can regenerate stuff.
Right.
And the first call I made as I was leaving was I called my mom and my wife. And I was like, I told my mom, she was upset. And I was like, yeah, I know it's sad, but I got a doctor's note, so you really can't get mad at me for being a dick. The next call was to one of my best friends, Rob Wolf. And I talked to Rob, and he's like, I'll get cranking on this. And then the next call was to Matt Lalonde. And Dr. Matt Lalonde is a doctor of organic chemistry at Harvard and probably one of the smartest people on the planet. So smart. I don't know if you guys have ever been around anybody who's had like 170 plus IQ. It's almost
I don't even know.
It's almost uncomfortable to be around them because
we might have a couple in the gym.
Yeah. So Matt has an army of monkeys that work for him, and he's like, I'll pull every research article and we'll figure this out. Calls me back. We pulled all the data on brain injury, ALS, all these things, and they've seen remarkable improvements in brain health and brain damage fixing with a
low-carb diet.
Ketogenic diet.
Son of a bitch.
So you mentioned before that some of it had to do with gluten, you think. Is that related to celiac at all, or do you think there's something in the gluten protein that...
Gluten is a plant-based protein, and, you run into people all the time that are like, I just was reading a guy's book, and he's like, gluten's fine. If you have allergy to it, then you should stay away from it. If you're celiac, obviously you should stay away from it, but it's fine for other people. I'm of a massive disagreement. I really think that that gluten reacts, and even in healthy people reacts in the small intestine. It binds up receptor sites. That's why a lot of the blood work you'll see on the majority.
But it may or may not be all that noticeable.
Yeah, I think you might not be exhibiting symptoms, but it's doing something on a cellular level.
It's still not the greatest thing in the world for you.
People think it's normal for them, whatever is normal for them, so they don't.
Every time they go get their blood work, and they wonder why they're low in zinc, magnesium, and iron, and it's because gluten can cause inflammation in the stomach, bind receptor sites that are basically receptors to be able to absorb those nutrients, which are important for testosterone and healthy androgen profile. So my deal is, until somebody shows me, and I hope somebody sends it in, that there is a performance reason, like an increase in performance by me eating gluten over something else, that, hey, this gluten-based problem causes performance, that this will get you to get stronger better than some other form of carbohydrate, then you know what? Like, I'm a performance whore.
Right.
Like, dude, I'll say it. I'm a performance whore. I just want to be the best, and I don't give a shit what I eat. Just tell me what to eat to be the best. So, I can't find a performance benefit for gluten. Now, you might say, well, it doesn't harm you, but is it going to help you? Is it going to help you the same way that, eating a higher protein diet, for in terms of building block and muscle composition and strength?
Rice, potatoes, chicken, steak.
So is it like this? Okay, so I got this loaf of bread and this. Even though I have seen people that have some allergy to white rice, like let's say it's white rice and this. It's just I'm not saying it's necessarily bad, but there's better choices.
Right.
And so long story short, Lalonde tells me, he's like, ketogenic diet. Great. Oh, I'd done a ketogenic diet before through Dr. De Pasquale. So for 6 months, I ate less than 50 grams. So I was like a little bit of carb.
More on carbs.
And then for the next 6 months, I ate 0 carbohydrate. It was just meat, olive oil, and coconut oil, and just like butter, no dairy.
What else do you think this can help with? Do you think it can help with like ADHD, autism, Asperger's, all that kind of stuff?
The first thing they do with autistic children is they put them on a gluten-free diet. They put them on a whole deal. My wife's good friend has got a severely autistic little boy.
Just to be clear, though, it may not actually heal people, but it can definitely help, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
When I went through and, Dr. Jin was analyzing and showing me different brains, he was showing me people, he's like, this person eats this diet. This is a high carb diet. He could show me within the brain impulses. He could show me what autism looked like, what alcoholism, what schizophrenia, and all these brain disorders.
Crazy.
Based on the impulses of the brain, and when you see the rhythm of the brain and the spikes and a whole deal, like being able to show little bumps. And I could show you if you had a whiteboard what it looked like. And I'm looking at all these different pictures, and he's like, "This disease corresponds. This is how the brain works. This is your healthy brain, and you have none of these." And I remember being like, "Well, whatever I'm doing, I'm not changing it."
Yeah.
So not all of a sudden you're going to convince me. Dude, believe me, I would love to go over, and we'd go over to Oakland right now and go crush like 7 Zachary's pizzas, which are like one of my favorite things in the world.
So good.
Yeah, or eat donuts. Who doesn't love that shit? But at the end of the day, I'm not going to eat it.
Right.
It's not necessarily a war on carbs. It's just fuck you, carb.
What's your
and I hated carbs. Like I would go teach our football seminars. When I get up, I'd be like, "There's no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. Fuck carbs. You don't need them." And you know what? Going that direction, and then I realized, like, you got to earn these things. Fuck them. You need them more than they need you.
Right.
Or the other way around.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like, dude, if you got to go out and you got to run 100 miles, you're going to have to do it on a high carb diet. If you're a power lifter that's just literally walking to and from the squat rack, fuck your carbs.
Right.
What's your go-to carbs then for a performance type athlete? Maybe give us 5 options or something.
In terms of fastest, quickest digesting carb, Vitargo. So Swedish waxy maize, it's Vitargo. It's really in terms of like if I need to eat carbs and I want to shuttle nutrients in there, the Vitargo.
What the fuck is that? Just powder?
It's a supplement.
Yeah, it's a supplement.
Okay.
Vitargo.
What's it taste like? I've never. Really
it's
had
awesome. It's a kind of a.
Okay. I've seen that company before.
Yeah. Vitargo. It used to be called Pure Vitargo. Now it's a different company. A guy Anthony Amata, who has it. It's actually in Orange County. We've been using it for years, and the reason that I ended up running into it was the bodybuilders I used to train with were big insulin takers.
That guy's been in the sports supplement industry for
and they
EAS
all
and
lived
by
Vitargo as their post-workout because it was the fastest absorbing carb that they could find.
Right.
So Vitargo would be that one. My other one's white rice, sweet potatoes, and really any starchy, kind of fibrous.
White potato? No white potato?
I'm not a big white potato fan as much as I like a sweet potato. And
are we talking taste or
just
physiological performance?
Yeah, a lot of people hate the white potato, and I'm not against the white potato. Right. So I'm Irish. I have an allegiance to the white potato. Now, when you fry it in trans oils and a bunch of other shit, it becomes
that much better.
Then it becomes delicious.
Yeah, and then it goes to magical. Yeah. But sweet potatoes, yams, anything that's like that is really our go-to for me. What
about the wifey? What does she eat similar to you, or
yes,
or she think you're stupid?
No, my wife is 100% on board and way more obsessed than I am. And
that's cool.
My kids probably ate a strict paleo diet up until the age of 2.
You have the same problem that Burdick has.
Yeah, I got twin girls. 3
years old. Your kids are somehow the same age.
Yeah.
And they were somehow born on the same fucking day.
Yeah, at the same time. So
that's some powerful fucking sperm.
It's super sperm. So the cool part is I have this theory that it's okay for me to lie to my kids if I know better. So like I tell them, I'm like, this is what everybody eats, and like steak, like you guys eat steak, you guys eat this. I mean, like white rice. I remember they were about 2 years old, and finally I broke the white rice out on them, and they were like, eyes got big, and they were like, rice. And then I was like, oh, your favorite food is bacon and eggies, and they're like, yes, it's bacon and eggies. And we make them the stuff, and
they only know what's in front of them, right?
Yeah, and they ate. As close to a perfect diet to the age of 2. They were hilarious. We would feed them. I'd be like, oh, it's time for the coconut oil, and they were like, oh, coconut oil. And I'd feed them spoonfuls of this stuff. And then at 2, my wife's like, oh, you know what? They're going to be going to school soon. We got to introduce other things.
They got to stop being so weird.
Start shitting themselves in class with some goldfish.
So we don't feed them any of that. But they get coconut ice cream. So we've convinced them that coconut milk ice cream is like ice cream. And then the best is they were at a party and they got real ice cream and they looked at me with these big eyes and were like, you fucking bastard! This is delicious, And then so they eat I buy a whole cow at a time and I have it in my freezer and that's what we eat, or I hunt. I mean, we killed I killed a deer and a pig and all these different animals. Yeah,
you look like it. Yeah,
Neanderthal style, which I was telling Mark the story.
Did you get in your old 3-point stance?
Head to head with a fucking deer.
I'll tell you guys. I was telling Mark about the Neanderthal diet here. We'll circle back to it.
I know how guys like you are. You go to show somebody something like, let me just show you like this.
And then they hammer
this move, because you're trying to show.
Did Starrett tell you this?
And then you just fucking kill somebody.
No.
But I just already know that.
Starrett was
you
like,
fucked his ass up, didn't you?
Yeah, Starrett asked me. He's like, hey, like when you were talking about heavy hands, because in football there's a term where
why would he ask? I would never ask.
Kelly played football at Colorado.
Oh my god.
That guy grew up in Germany, I heard.
Yeah,
I think this is all lies. He didn't play no football.
Yeah, no, he had a scholarship and played at Colorado, and I only know this because he played with some guys that went to my high school, because he's older than me. But
slip that in.
Yeah, I always joke. I have a much better hairline than Kelly, too. So every time I text him,
what's going on with that hair? He's got to just shave it.
Well, it's not that he's losing hair. He's just growing more forehead.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's really what's happening. But
human forehead growth hormone.
Pancake, decleater.
You and Kelly going head to head.
So he asked me, he goes, heavy hands. And I was like, oh, yeah. He goes, I've heard people refer to a guy as having heavy hands. What does that mean? And I was like, I don't know if I can tell you, but I can show you. Because I have heavy hands. What that meant is that for some reason, certain guys
you said about George Foreman.
Inertia.
I would never ask him about that.
Yeah, like there were guys that just when they, and I used to play against guys, like they would when they put their hands on you.
They have fucking thunder in their hands.
It was inertia or something. They put their hands on you, you'd be like, and they collapse you to the ground.
Kind of old man strength.
Well,
shit.
I have heavy hands. And so I was like, well, here, Kelly, here it is. And I just kind of rotated my hands back, and I two-hand punched him in the chest, and he was like, and he chest collapsed, and he stumbled back and was like, and his fucking heart stopped for a split second. I almost thought he died. And he was like, never do that again. And it was pretty funny. If you ever hear the story, you ever want to mess with him, be like, hey, tell me about when Welbourn showed you the heavy hands.
Oh, my God.
And so, yeah, that was the story. But there's definitely guys that have heavy hands, and they put the fucking mitts on you.
Who was the best player you ever played against?
Everybody was really good. People always ask me that question, and the guy that I would
guess who whooped your ass the most?
Well, I can tell. There's a couple.
Hard to admit, but
no,
it's okay.
I believe me.
Okay,
I only remember the plays I got beat on. I don't remember any of the good plays.
Right.
Except it was against one Hall of Famer that I own. I should just go take his lunch money and his Super Bowl ring and his fucking Hall of Fame anything because he's a little bitch, and I whooped his ass. So I played against numerous people. I played against Strahan. A lot of guys that everybody would count. Dude, I used to basically take Warren Sapp's lunch every single day I played against him. And the one guy who was hands down the best player, and you probably never heard of him, was a guy named Keith Hamilton. So they called him the Hammer. Keith Hamilton was about 6'7", about 295 pounds, played defensive tackle for the New York Giants. And when I came in as a young fucking spry kid coming in to fucking make a name for myself in the NFC East, which is the black and blue, the fucking, the turnpike deal. Redskins, Eagles, Giants, and the Redskins. And, dude, that was I would go place that guy. And he had a move that was actually called the forklift. So what happened is he would stand straight up, and he's a big son of a bitch. He had all of his kids tattooed all over his arm. I'm like, guy must have had 100 kids.
Started reading them.
And it was all baby faces, all over his arms. And you're like, Jesus, this guy got a lot of fucking kids. He's got fucking super dad strength. So he would come in, and he would come off the ball with his hands low, and he would give you his chest. Nobody in the NFL gives you their chest, and the other thing you never do is you never lift your chin, right? Because what do you do in boxing? You lift your chin, you're going to get knocked the fuck out. Right. He did both. He would stand up, give you his chin and chest, and he would let you hit him with everything you fucking had. And after you hit him with everything you had and you were fucking locked on, he would take his hands low and he would grab you around the wrists and he would forklift your hands off of him, and then he would lift them above your head and throw you into the quarterback. This was a move that was so fearsome that we watched it on film, and guys would start looking around. And Doug Brzezinski, who played left guard before
That's
me,
when you start holding your hamstring. You're like, Coach, I don't know about this week.
Brzezinski,
this hamstring pull's really creeping back up on me.
I come in as a rookie, right, and I'm playing right tackle. Brzezinski's playing left guard, and we got drafted the same year. Well, Dougie got fucking forklifted a few times, and he got the Warren Sapp. Warren Sapp had a move called the Matrix, where he would give you his chest, and then he would fucking, because he's a fat fuck, he would melt away. And he was, unbelievable move called the Matrix. So he got Dougie with the Matrix, and so Doug got this. I come in the next year and end up beating Doug out for the starting left guard job. And I'm like watching on film him just like forklift Doug back. And Doug was a good player, Boston College, really solid dude. And we started working a drill in practice called the forklift, where like you would punch a guy and he would do everything in his hands to fight to get his hands off you, and then you would have to replace.
No one could even come close to mimicking it, right?
Well, no, but we worked on it for the whole offseason.
Right.
So all of a sudden I'd line up against Keith, set back, bam, hit him as hard as I could, and I literally locked on with everything I had, and he brings his forklift, grabs my hands, and he can't get his hands off me. And I remember I look at him and I kind of like nodded my head, and he's like, "It's gonna be a long fucking day for you." And the problem is in the NFL, at least for me, I played with my head. I hit.
Right.
So I had a deal like boxing where certain boxers like to take punches, others can't, and I would hit people in the head until they gave up. And I knew if I hit somebody enough, by the third quarter they'd give up. Some people gave up sooner, some people didn't give up. This dude never gave up. I could hit him every single play, and he'd be like, just keep coming back. And I'd be like, motherfucker. So this dude was not only the biggest, strongest, baddest fucking dude I ever played against. And I played against, my first started guard was against Leon Led. I played, obviously Sapp. I mean, you think about Strahan. I played him. I mean, anybody you want to think of at that time, I played against him.
Was Reggie White gone?
I did not get to play against the Reverend. Thank God. I saw
he made a lot of people look awful.
Yeah, he unbelievable. I mean, watching him on film. I mean, Dwight Freeney, played against Dwight Freeney, Eric Mathis. Oh, was that his name? Eric Mathis, the other guy. I used to kill that kid. He was so little. Who else? Simeon Rice.
Dolphins.
Yeah, the Dolphin. Broke his rib.
Fuck his name. Jason Taylor.
So we.
He's fast.
Here's a great story here's another great story. We were going down to play Miami Dolphins. I was playing left guard. Trey Thomas was playing left, and Trey came up with a back injury on the bus ride over to go play the Dolphins. Walks in and goes like, "I'm not playing today. My back's hurt." And we're like, "Huh? What the fuck are you talking about?" Like, we're suiting up, and so our offensive line coach comes in. He's like, "Yeah, Trey's out." Artis, who's our backup, you're in. Artis' fucking eyes get big. He's like,
yeah.
So Artis, I was like, here's what we're going to do. You're going to set him deep when he comes inside. I'm going to fucking break his rib. And sure enough, he came inside, and I put my helmet to his ribs, and he never rushed inside again. And Artis went out and basically pitched a shutout against him.
There you go.
So, I mean, we played against, Dana Stubblefield. I used to own him. Big Stub. I mean, dude, any of those guys, Big Dan Wilkerson. I mean, I played against a lot of them. And, as I say, I caught a lot of guys on their bad days.
Yeah.
I was happy to play a lot of people on their bad day. So I caught a lot of people slipping that day. But you know what? I mean, just like anything, dude, you're going to take a lot of blows and people get you on plays, but, it's just how it works.
Yeah, you're going to win some, lose some, no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, so people always ask me who's the best, and I'm like, everybody was really, really good.
Right.
I mean, unbelievable, some of the best athletes on the planet. But in terms of, like, the guy that I prepped for and the guy that I tore out his picture and put it in my wallet, I literally tore his picture out of the fucking program and had it in my wallet for 5 years. Because I knew I was going to have to face him. Every time I opened my wallet, I saw his face there, which was like, if I want to make money, I got to beat this dude, was Keith Hamilton.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
That bastard.
Yeah, strong fucker.
The forklift. Write that down.
Did you Google him? You can see a picture of him.
I haven't knew that.
Yeah, Keith Hamilton. He's a beast, but I mean, completely underrated. I don't think he ever made a Pro Bowl. Like nothing. Like nobody would ever.
Did you ever make it to the Pro Bowl?
No.
Son of a.
Yeah, I got brought to the Pro Bowl, so I got screwed one year, and the guys felt bad for me, so they actually paid for me to go the year I should have made it. But I think the way I played the game wasn't necessarily conducive to getting the other guys to vote for me. Right. So the Pro Bowl's a big, I guess you could say, popularity contest, and when you go out and you're a fucking asshole, guys aren't going to vote you into the popularity contest. You got to go out and campaign for that shit too.
Yeah, makes sense.
You got to go out and talk to guys. Hey, it's great to see you, man. I'm having this incredible year. And there were guys that did that shit. They'd be out before the game talking to everybody. Man, the coaches say I'm having the best year of my career. And the next thing, that guy gets voted to the fucking Pro Bowl. You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
but you played 9 fucking years, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I got hurt my 10th. So.
And what happened towards the end? In Googling you, some stuff comes up about anabolic steroids.
Yeah, I got a weird deal happened to me.
And it's it seemed like you retired, and then they somehow, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, well, what happened is all of a sudden I got tested 3 times in 5 weeks, and the second test came back positive for a byproduct of a drug, of epitrimbolone. So it was a byproduct of Trenbolone.
It's probably that fucking creatine you're taking back in 1991.
Yeah, unlabeled white bottle.
Right, and then I got tested like 7 days later, and it was negative. So one test came up positive for a byproduct, and went to the USDA, went to every doctor I could find, and they were like, the only way that you could get epitrenbolone in the system without having trenbolone would be to consume some form of animal protein that had been treated with trenbolone. And it's approved for cattle drugs, so this is very realistic to have this happen.
Right.
And the NFL still suspended me.
Pricks.
Yeah, I fought him for 2 years, did the whole deal. And I got pissed off and retired and was like, fuck you, I'm done playing football. This is bullshit. And I ended up, as I was sitting at home, never wanting to play football again, I got a phone call from Will Shields, who was, not only did I play with
Probably
Will,
Hall of Famer, huh?
one of the best to ever put on a football uniform, one of the best humans I've ever met, one of my favorite people in the world, and one of the only people in the world that I would have taken this call and had this response. Will calls me on the phone, and this is right at the end of training camp. He calls me and goes, what are you doing? I'm like, nothing, just enjoying not playing football anymore. And he goes, I wouldn't ask you this unless I needed you, but I need you to come back. He goes, these guys, the guy they have playing next to me can't do the job, and I'm not going to go out at the end of my career without the right people around me, and I want you to come back. And I was like, well, let me, whatever, and I hung up, and I remember calling my brother Eddie, and I was like, Will just called me and wants me to come back, and my brother was like, it'd be real cool, and my nephew Luke, who's my brother's son, is his godfather, and he's like, it'd be really cool if Luke got to see you play football. He didn't get to see you play. And he's like, I'm just going to leave it at that. And I was like, fuck. All right, fuck it. And I went back and unretired and came back and fucking had to rock and roll. So, and then showed up, and 4 games later I was the starter. So didn't go to training camp, had retired, and then a few days when I showed up.
That's a good way of skipping camp.
Yeah. So came back and started, but
that's some Brett Favre stuff.
Yeah, it was a bad deal, man. And the problem was I had a multi-million-dollar deal sitting on the table, and had a really, really nice $10 million signing bonus sitting there that just disappeared when that shit showed up. And I was bitter beyond bitter. And the problem was it's a black ball, and fucking keep you out of a lot of things. I mean, and it's funny now, but you see all these guys getting popped left and right, and you're like, and people are like, oh, he's fucking dirty. The only reason he's there, and you're like, hey, motherfucker, I never saw, I don't know who took what, and I never fucking saw anybody do anything, but like I never saw anybody take anything that somehow made them into somebody they weren't.
Right.
Like drugs never made you a good player or anything.
Right.
All they ever did is made you a bigger, stronger, shitty fucking player.
Right.
Now, if you're a good player and they just made you a bigger, stronger, good player, I could see it.
You've seen that a million times over. The most jacked guys on the team are they're usually on the sidelines.
One of the best players.
Guys look like a bodybuilder. They'll be on the sidelines. They're third strength.
No, if I saw a dude walk up to me and he was all chest and quads and looking like fucking Superman, we had a deal. Looked like Tarzan, play like Jane.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I got this dude's fucking lunch.
Right.
It was the weird, wide-hipped, knock-kneed, bow-legged, pigeon-toed, big calf, big butt, kind of strange, kind of quirky build that you'd walk up and be like, oh, this motherfucker is going to tear me up.
Yeah.
And the dude would kind of walk over. I don't know if you guys
it's like Milanichev, the fucking powerlifter. Squatting 1,014 raw. He's like walks dude. All weird. And limbs are going everywhere. You're like, what the fuck?
Willie Rofe, probably one of the best players I've ever played with. I played on his offensive line. I mean, I played on 2 of the best lines probably ever to play in football when I was at the Eagles. We ran 3 NFC championship games. I mean, we were killing it. And then I got traded, went to Kansas City and blocked for Priest Holmes and Larry Johnson. Played with Willie Rofe, Brian Shields.
You still in contact with T.O. all the time?
No.
You guys aren't?
No, I think he's still playing up in...
You guys aren't homies?
No, we never kicked it. But, Willie Rofe, if you saw Willie, Willie would walk in and you're like, there's no way this old man can play. And he would, walk in, he's all knock-kneed and all broken down. And all of a sudden, that motherfucker got in his stance. And they snapped the ball, and it was like a gunshot. It was like... Bah, 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 bah. And you were like, oh, my God, that's the fastest man I've ever seen in my life. Unbelievable athlete.
Yeah, just tremendous speed, huh?
Yeah, just different level. Completely different level of human being. That's why we, very few players build themselves into NFL players. NFL players are born, and they just chisel away all the extra pieces. It's kind of like they asked Michelangelo about carving David, and he's like, I didn't carve it. I just moved away the extra pieces, and it was underneath there. Same deal,
Bunch of mutants.
Yeah,
League of Mutants.
League of Mutants.
Well, Googling Keith Hamilton is fraught with the problem of there being a Keith Hamilton Cobb, who is an actor, giant black man.
Put in.
There
Oh, you
a
can put
million
Keith,
pictures of him.
Keith Hamilton NFL.
Yeah, just not pictures though.
Really?
So I was looking for a big ass picture of him, and I'm getting video. There's plenty of video.
Yeah,
Probably on one of those Kai Green websites.
Oh yeah, fucking a grapefruit. Did you ever get caught fucking a grapefruit before? Kumquat.
What happened?
Did you ever get caught fucking a grapefruit?
Who fucks a grapefruit?
Kai Green.
Why did he fuck?
Bodybuild? I don't know.
What?
Mike, do you know why?
I don't know why.
They have
I
a
just
video of him
started-
fucking a
Oh,
grapefruit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like he had them video him.
I think he just might be attracted to it. I don't know.
Arguably the most popular
Maybe he's
bodybuilder in our day.
Maybe he's more attracted to carbs than some of the rest of us.
Is that the guy with the long hair?
Yeah.
Yes.
Looks
Yeah.
like the Predator.
Yeah, he wears like a hood all the time.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. It's all
Yeah.
jacked
Has
out of
fruits.
his mind.
Yeah, he didn't he just lose to
Yep.
Victor Martinez or something?
No, he lost to Phil Heath.
Oh yeah, Phil Heath.
They got into like a wrestling match on stage. It was a little
Weird, like watching men.
non-heterosexual.
Wrestling like WWE kind of.
Oh,
Yeah.
They got in a fight.
Well, they were like brushing up against each other. It was weird.
It was posturing.
So like for their final pose off.
Yeah, exactly.
I always like what always trips me out a little bit about the bodybuilding is that it's subjective.
Right.
So it's those people that are judging. It's their opinion. It's not like you stuck that landing, you scored that Super Bowl or that touchdown. You just fucking totaled 3,000. Like you can bitch about depth or whatever, but the guy lifted the weight. Like up there, they're like, well, I think his delts look better and his glutes are more defined. Like,
you can't tell.
It's fucking nonsense.
It's so hard to tell.
Yeah, and like those guys train and they think they're in their best shape, and they're like, this year we were looking for a guy with a longer middle toe, and then the guy gets dissed out.
He's came in 3 pounds light, 3 pounds heavy.
I follow Dana Lynn Bailey on Instagram, and
Pervin.
she is shredded.
Yeah,
well,
it's
she's
amazing.
a Philly chick, man. She's Westchester, and I gotta always
East Coast.
stick with my Westchester Philly roots. And so I was like kind of check her out, and I was like rooting for her, and she finished second. And I'm like, if she's second, who the fuck is first?
Yeah,
because that girl is she's
amazing.
She's got a row home on Jack Street.
Yeah, she's amazing.
I mean, you of course probably the only listener that would know what a row home is.
Maybe.
Yeah. So
anyway, I think it's time to bring this one in for a landing, as Jim always says.
Yeah. Actually, before we go, I have a quick question. That
lay it on me.
Came off
Power
the
Athlete HQ, Power Athlete Radio.
Came off the internet.
Oh,
The interwebs.
But it's a question that I've had too, and something that Mike and I were discussing earlier. People who are on ketogenic diets, sometimes when they actually eat carbs, when they do a carb refeed or whatever, they have that like sweating sensation, dizziness, all of that, all those weird symptoms. What the hell is that?
Physiologically,
It's basically you are spiking blood sugar. Anybody here that's ever had low blood sugar or really elevated blood sugar? So what happens with low blood sugar? You get low blood sugar, you start feeling sick, queasy, that whole deal.
Yeah, weak.
Right.
Same with like elevated blood sugar. So what happens is the body's so insulin sensitive that when you consume a shit ton of carbs, all of a sudden the metabolism goes through the roof, blood sugar shoots up, insulin released, and your body's so sensitive to that insulin.
It's just trying to catch up or
Yeah,
something.
it'd be like if all of a sudden you injected a bunch of insulin, all of a sudden he would, blood sugar would fall and he'd get in this huge diabetic coma kind of deal. So that's what happens. It just comes from just not having adapted and then just dosing it real big time. I mean, that happens on that anabolic diet where you eat no carbs and then all of a sudden you shuttle back and eat nothing but carbs.
Right.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you're sitting there, and I remember doing that and just like sweating at the table so bad that people are like, "Are you okay?" You're like, "Fuck, it's so hot. I can't see straight. I'm blacking out." But like I think in terms of like I was telling Mark a little bit about like this idea of like a Neanderthal. So I don't know if you guys, Mark didn't know this, but all the Neanderthal skulls and bones that they find always have like a gash in the skull, like they died from some blunt force object,
Right.
And they couldn't figure it out. So finally, this doctor was like, well, the reason being is that they didn't hunt with weapons. So what they would do is they would run in there and try to smash animals with their fists or something.
Sometimes they would lose.
And they would lose. And it was usually a fucking gash to the skull. So they found all these Neanderthal skulls with huge gashes. And so I was telling Mark, I'm like, those dudes just based on their like bone density, and they look at all the stuff. They had like a test count of like 4,000 milligrams. They just ate nothing but protein and just fucking had different insertion points, different anthropomology, and like we're just like gorillas, and we just try to smash mammals to death. And so that's what we were calling the Neanderthal diet: just high test levels, lots of protein, lots of fat, and just total primal movements, like trying to smash animals with your fists.
You ever hear about keto flu? Like kind of getting almost sick from, I guess, an abundance of ketones?
Not really, but what's really nasty, and you might have experienced this, is when you are on a ketogenic diet, super keto, and you're ketones and the whole deal, and then you dose in a large amount of lactic acid, like doing some form of lactic acid threshold style training. Like let's get super keto, have real bad breath, and then we're going to fucking push the prowler on the minute for like 30 minutes.
Right.
That massive dose of lactic acid, what does it do to you?
I don't know.
Fucking gives you sick, makes you sick.
Oh, yeah, makes you
so,
throw
I
up,
mean, like your body's not adapted, like you need glucose and
Right,
a lot of
right,
these key factors. So, my favorite thing is with people that have keto, I'm like, shit, let's go push the prowler. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Let's get fucking weird. So I think, the keto stuff works great if, like, hey, I want to, train with a little bit lower intensity, but if you really need to ramp up that intensity, I mean, all the coffee in the world isn't going to get you there. You're going to need some carbs for the fuel. You're going to have to stoke the fire. But in terms of like health, like if you wanted to look at something like, I think the keto diet works really, really well. I mean, Mark's a huge proponent of it, and it's definitely helped him transform. I mean, like from before when I first met you to now, it's like not even the same person. So
it's helped me a lot, and I always just try to point out to people there's a lot of different ways to lose weight. Yeah. You can count your calories. You can do more of a keto style. Well, there's a million different ways of doing it.
I mean, at the end of the day, like if you even look at some of the standard bodybuilding stuff, like if you reduce your calories by 500 to 1,000 calories a day over the course of 7 days, you will lose 1 to 2 pounds. Right. And you know what? That shit works.
Right.
You know how people have been getting shape for the last 60 years? Lifting weights, 500 to 1,000 calories less a day,
right?
Monitoring their carbs, and walking in the morning, doing fasted cardio.
Right.
That is exactly how almost every single one of the Mr. Olympia, Dan and Bailey's, all those, they do fucking fasted cardio. They lift weights. They make sure they weigh and measure their food, so they're in a hypocaloric diet.
Right.
And they sleep a bunch. They drink water, and they are consistent, and they do that every fucking day. And you know what? Like, so I mean, people are like, oh, I want to get abs. I got to do this, this, and this. I'm like, let's take a step back, amigo. And like, there's a million, like he said, there's a million ways to get there. How you want to get there is up to you. Mm-hmm. But like all roads lead to Rome, And if Rome is looking good, it's just consistency is the key and following one path. The problem is nobody can be consistent.
Right. That's
I'm going to do keto for a week, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to power lift, and I'm going to do swirl, and then I'm going to follow Jesse Burdick's Power Watt, and then I'm going to do CrossFit, and then I'm going to do this and this and this, and I'm going to hyper, and then I'm going to do CrossFit. And then I wonder why I don't do good. Well, fuck, because you've never consistently done shit in your life. You never consistently ate. Like, how many people you met? I need to put on weight. And what do? For 1 week, they fucking eat a ton, and then what do for the next week? They don't eat anything.
Yeah, well, and then they complain that they can't do it. It's like, well, you really only tried it for 1 week. You can certainly do it. It's just you need to get used to it.
Yeah, and you just got to be consistent. So we'll leave it there. Consistency, folks.
All right, now we can bring it in for a landing.
All right.
Question answer.
Where can people find you?
You can find me at johnwelbourn.com. You can find me at Power Athlete HQ. You can find me at CrossFit Football. You can find me at John Welbourn on Twitter and Instagram.
What about the foods? You got some foods going on.
Yeah, Well Food Co. is our company that does, and I've
it was amazing.
You guys crushed it.
I ate a whole batch on the podcast one day. It was
awesome.
Great.
Yeah, we have this killer food company that we started in 2009. And
chocolate that'll blow your face off.
Yeah, no, chocolate's good, and the jerky's amazing. Everything's really good. You can find us at wellfoodco.com. And, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. We have a paid back end with our Power Athlete HQ and Field
like
Strong.
saying back end. You guys listen.
I love it.
I got a free back end.
You got to pay paid. You got to pay $20 to get into back end.
Dang, mine's
so
free.
Yeah, you can find us. I got a cast of characters and space monkeys that are constantly doing great stuff, and we travel and teach seminars. And if you're interested in performance and how to necessarily create a strength conditioning program that you can use to actually get people stronger, faster, and ramp up performance, then we're the place to find. I think we do it better, just as good as anybody out there. And at the end of the day, it's always good to listen to somebody that actually did the job. Like, I love listening to people talk about squatting heavy that have never squatted heavy. I love talking to people about training for football that never played football. I'm like, well, fuck, you want to find somebody good? Go talk to them.
Yeah.
And your podcast is on iTunes, right?
That's our Power Athlete Radio. We're like sisters to you guys. Your Power Podcast or PowerCast. We're Power Athlete Radio.
There you go.
The Power is a good name, and it just kind of fits for what we do. That's why there's good synergy with us.
Multiply your hustle, multiply your muscle, and may all your shits be tapered.
You can find me at Silent Mike 2Ks. You can find Mark at Mark Smelly Bell. He doesn't want to plug his own shit.
I'm Jim McD, STTV, everywhere that I would want you to find me. Follow us on Twitter at STChimSack, Facebooks.com/SuperTrainingGym, and we'll catch you next time.
Subscribe to Power Magazine at thepowermagazine.com. If you choose the digital edition, you can catch up on all the great back issues, take your training to the next level with Slingshot products at howmuchyoubench.net, and look for BSN products including NO Explode at bodybuilding.com. Mark Bell's PowerCast is a production of supertraining.tv.